So once again, very good morning, my dear students. Welcome back to the Global Positioning Systems class. So I hope you are all doing good. How are you all? Please respond through the chat box. Okay, neither is fine. Remaining. So maintain a good health by taking the good diet and also following the COVID-19 guidelines given by the government time to time. So spend more time with your textbooks. Oh, thank you. Number 81. Yeah, I'm also doing good. Fine. That's why I'm taking class. I'm super fine. Right. Thank you. One and all. Now we'll go ahead into the topic. So already I waited for 10 minutes. So strength is 95 members are present till now. Okay, with this strength, we'll continue our class. So if at all the connectivity is lost, I try to maintain a seamless connectivity all the time. So if at all the connectivity is lost, if you're unable to listen my voice, or if you're unable to view the screen that is shared, that may be because of the network issue, I will reconnect through another mode. Please remind me in the WhatsApp message, through the WhatsApp message. That will be always on, even if this is disconnected. Okay, hopefully we won't get any interruption in between. Okay. So as we are studying in the unit 4, that is differential GPS we are talking about, right? So let us revise what we studied in our previous class and go ahead with the present topic. So let's maintain 100%. Is this visible now? Yeah. So the unit 4 is differential GPS. So as you have seen in our previous class, the differential GPS, the main aim of the differential GPS is to reduce the errors. So there are so many types of errors and error due to various error sources in the GPS system. That may be due to the ionospheric delay errors, tropospheric delay errors, ephemeris errors, or clock errors, or user-induced errors, or the system errors. That is the thermal noise. And to reduce the effect of all these error sources and the resultant error, we have, of course, the GPS engineers have introduced a new GPS in the name of the differential GPS. Differential GPS. So the topics of the unit 4 include LAD GPS, local area differential GPS, WAD GPS, wide area differential GPS, space-based augmentation system. So augmentation is nothing but the improvement of the GPS message, navigation message. That is, augmentation systems are in the 2 domains. We have 3 domains. One is the user domain, space domain, and the another one is the control domain. That is control segment, user segment, control segment, and space segment. And this augmentation can be done even in the space and also in the ground. So there are 2 types of augmentations. One is the space-based augmentation, another one is the ground-based augmentation. Of course, in that the subtopics include LoRaN-C, long-range navigation, C, geo-uplink subsystem, and geo-downlink subsystem, and geo-orbit determination, and geometric analysis, and covariance analysis. And finally, there should be an integration between the GPS and INS. So GPS stands for Global Position System and INS stands for the Inertial Navigation System. Both are intended to do the same task, but the way how it is achieved is different. Of course, basic 5 types of navigation techniques we have seen. The fourth technique is the using the radio frequency signals. Using the radio frequency signals. Right. So we have already studied this. Just have a quick revision because we have taken a long gap of 4 days. So differential GPS is a technique for reducing the error in the GPS derived positions by using additional data from a reference GPS receiver at a known position. So there is one GPS receiver, actual receiver, that is called as a user receiver or GPS receiver, which is to be navigated. And in the differential GPS concept, we are using some reference stations which are placed geographically at a wide range of geographical area. So from each reference station, some data is collected from the reference GPS receivers to know the exact location and errors in the GPS navigation, and the corrections are sent to the actual receiver and the corrections are updated in the actual receiver. This is what the procedure of differential GPS is. And the reference station's position is already known to us. It must be known to us. Then only we will be able to estimate whether there is an error in the GPS or not. If the position is not known to us, we cannot estimate the error. And the DGPS involves determining the combined effects of the navigation message ephemeris and satellite clock errors, including the effects of propagation at a reference station, and transmitting the delays corrections in real time to the user's receiver. So this receiver applies corrections in the determining its position. They include, the corrections are completed for selective availability errors. See, this may not be always present. Sometimes it may be present, it may not be present sometimes. So that's why in bracket if present. Satellite is ephemeris and clock errors, they are always prone. Ionospheric delay errors, tropospheric delay errors, and some other error sources that cannot be corrected with the differential GPS are multipath errors and user receiver errors. So user induced errors cannot be corrected by the differential GPS. Make a note of this. So you can write the limitations or drawbacks of the differential GPS include it cannot correct the multipath errors and it cannot correct the user induced errors, because the user induced errors may not be present in the reference station because the user is intended to disturb the original user or original receiver, and the reference receiver may not be present this kind of errors. That's why differential GPS cannot correct these kind of errors. And the multipath propagation is when the RF signal is incident on the land. It may be present on the top hills or some hilly areas, or some present on some metal contacts, or some that is like metals. This may not be the case at the reference stations. This may not be the case with the reference stations, but remaining all, whichever are present in the ionosphere and troposphere, are common to the reference station as well as to the original user. So the first one is the local area differential GPS, LAD GPS. So in this, the user's GPS receiver receives the real-time pseudo range and carrier phase corrections from a reference receiver located within the line of sight. Located within the line of sight. So local area is very simple to understand. It is the reference station is located within the line of sight. That means this is within the limited area, a local area. And the corrections account for the combined effects of navigation message ephemeris and satellite clock errors. Navigation message ephemeris is orbital errors. If there is any error in the orbital of the satellites, then these errors are called as the ephemeris errors. Of course, we already studied this. And atmospheric propagation delay errors at the reference station. At the reference station. With the assumption that these errors are also common to the measurements made by the user's receiver, the application of the corrections will result in the more accurate coordinates. Of course, whatever we studied this till now, these errors may not be present in the user also. So at a reference station, we are taking them into account and these are sent to the user position. Next, the second one is the wide area differential GPS. So it is only the geographical area differences. Both are doing the same purpose. LAD GPS is within a local area, that is within the line of sight, and WAD GPS is over a wide geographic area. So it is a form of differential GPS in which the user's GPS receiver receives the corrections determined from a network of reference stations distributed over a wide geographic area. So here it is a network of reference stations, not a single reference station. There is a network of reference stations distributed over a wide geographical area. And the corrections, separate corrections are determined for the specific error sources. So one error, correction, another source of error, correction, not the combined corrections, such as the satellite clock, ionospheric propagation delay, and ephemeris. Of course, these are the three different error sources. So corrections are done separately for these three. Separately for these three errors. And the corrections are supplied in real time by the way of geostationary communication satellite or through a network of ground-based transmitters. So how these corrections are sent to the original user? For that purpose, it takes the aid of the geostationary communication satellite, that is geostationary satellite, or a network of ground-based transmitters. A network of the ground-based transmitters. Most of the time, this will be enabled by the optical fiber cables. That is from a reference station to a master control station. Of course, all these corrections are done in the master control station. And all these are accumulated. The corrections may be done within the same time, that is simultaneously, or may be done in the post processing. So two types of corrections are done. So the space-based augmentation system and ground-based augmentation system implementation includes these things. The major one is to enroute the oceanic transport, to enroute the domestic transport, and terminal monitoring, and the approach, and upon the surface also. So upon the surface, this may include the local area augmentation system. So till now we have seen LAD GPS, WAD GPS, and the third one is the local area augmentation system. LAS stands for the local area augmentation system. And the space-based augmentation system, the first one is the wide area augmentation system, that is WAS. So what WAS will do? WAS will enhance the GPS SPS, and it is available over a wide geographic area. And who developed the WAS? The WAS was developed by, of course, Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, together with the cooperation of some other agencies. Federal Aviation Administration is a US based aviation academy, and it will provide the WAD GPS corrections, additional ranging signals from a geostationary satellite. So geostationary satellite, remember, geostationary satellite is not a part of the GPS system. Is not a part of the GPS system. Remember this point. This is very, very important. All the GPS satellites, 24 or 32, whatever, including the what you call Stephanie like satellites. If any satellite provides, other replaceable satellites are ready. All of them are non-geostationary. These geostationary satellites are present only in the case of the differential GPS. So whichever the receiver is capable of differential capability, those receivers can only avail the facilities provided by the geostationary satellites and integrity data on the GPS and the geo satellites. So each geo uplink subsystem includes a closed loop control algorithm. There will be a closed loop control algorithm and a special signal generator hardware. There is a special signal generator hardware and a closed loop control algorithm. These are not present in the ordinary GPS receiver. Make a note of this point. This is very, very important. And these will ensure that the downlink signal to the user is controlled adequately to be used as a ranging source to supplement the satellites in a view. To supplement the satellite GPS satellites in view. So this is a wide area augmentation system. So mostly used in the navigation or en routing of the aircraft. So this is a communication satellite. This will send signals to the aircraft. Of course, these four are the GPS satellites. These three are present here. One more will be present at other space, and these three will continuously send the signals. And the sent signals are sent also to the wide area master station, and same are received by a network of reference stations. So of course, these dots include, these nodes are nothing but the reference stations. And remember, these reference stations are with known locations, and if any corrections are there, that will be sent to the wide area master station. And what this wide area master station will do? The wide area master station with a uplink satellite, geostationary uplink satellite, will send it to the communication satellite, and from there to the aircraft. This is what the wide area augmentation system architecture is and how it is working. Any doubts up to this? Any doubts, guys, up to this? Please respond yes or no, at least. Hello? Please respond yes or no, at least. Are you there in the class? Hello? At least one person responded. Okay. So this is how the WAS is working. And SBAS also includes the primary mission of the WAS is to provide a means for the air navigation for all phases of the flight in the National Airspace System. So National Airspace System is a US based aviation system from departure, en route, arrival through the approach. So the WAS is providing the services in all the phases of the flight, from the departure and to en route, to arrival, and through the approach. These are the aviation terminology. So departure means where the aircraft will depart, how it takes the path. That is like to move from Bangalore to Delhi. there is some air route, and that route may be used by many of the aircraft, many of the aeroplanes. So there is traffic is to be controlled properly. Traffic is to be monitored properly. If the traffic is not monitored properly, then the accidents may take place in the air. So en routing is a major rule. So en route and to the arrival and through the approach. Through the approach. In all these four phases of the air navigation aircraft from the departure to the landing, the VAS is providing the services. The VAS is providing the services. The GPS augmented VAS offers the capability for both non-precision approach and precision approach with a specific service volume. So it is providing the services not only in the non-precision approach but also in the precision approach. And the secondary mission of the VAS, the first one is to provide the services from the departure, en route, arrival, and to the approach. And the second mission of the VAS is to provide a VAS network time, WNT offset, between the VAS network time and UTC, that is coordinated universal time, for non-navigation users. So there are some other non-navigation users. So there is always a clock offset, that is between the VAS network time and the UTC. So they will provide a offset between the WNT and the UTC for the non-navigation users, so who are not in the navigation procedure. And next one is the VAS provides the improved en route navigation and precision approach capability to the VAS certified avionics. So you have to register with the VAS. You have to get a certification from the VAS. So VAS certified avionics, they will get the improved en route navigation and precision approach. Precision is when you calculate many times, you should yield the same data. So this is more accurate, more nearer results to be getting. So the safety of the safety critical VAS system consists of the equipment and software that are necessary to augment the Department of Defense provided GPS SPS. GPS SPS, that is Department of Defense provided GPS SPS. And a VAS also provides signal in space to the VAS certified aircraft avionics using the VAS for any FAA approved phase of flight. For any FAA approved phase of flight, the VAS will provide a SIS. SIS stands for the signal in space. So what is signal in space and what are the functions that are done by signal in space? We'll see in detail. So that is, the SIS provides two services. One is the data on the GPS and geo satellites and ranging capability. So it not only provides the data on the GPS and geo satellites, but also the ranging capability for the users. So GPS satellite data is received and processed at a widely dispersed wide area reference stations, WRSs. So this is very, very important. Wide area reference stations. WRS means wide area reference stations. So in the previous diagram, I have shown wide area reference stations, right? They are this. So they are strategically located to provide a coverage over the required VAS service volume. To provide the coverage over the required VAS service volume. Even though the GPS is developed by the USA, but the VAS reference stations may be present all over the globe. Of course, they will place in their alliance group of countries. They will not keep them in the enemy's countries. Of course, that is a well-known fact. It's a metal to us. Now, the data are forwarded to the wide area master stations, that is monitoring station, wide area master stations, that will process the data from the multiple reference stations to determine the integrity, differential corrections, and residual errors for each monitored satellite and for the each predetermined ionospheric grid point. Ionospheric grid point for each monitored satellite and also for the each predetermined ionospheric grid point. So IGP stands for the ionospheric grid point. So for all this, the corrections are made. So multiple master stations are provided to eliminate the single point failures within the VAS network. So if there is a single master station is present, then it may lead to some failure, single point failure. So that we are using the multiple master sessions. But compared to the reference sessions, master sessions are limited. Master session will be 1 or 2 and reference sessions will be 25 or more sometimes. So the geosatellites downlink these data to the users via the GPS SPS L band. So this is done and sent to the geostationary satellite, and that will send to the user by using a L band ranging signal frequency, that is L1 frequency, with GPS type of modulation, because the user understands only the GPS modulation. That is nothing but, what is the GPS modulation technique? Anybody? Anyone in the class? What is the GPS modulation technique? Hello guys, I need response from you. What is the modulation technique used for the GPS signal? Are you there in the class? That is biphase modulation or BPSK modulation. And the ground-based subsystem or station will communicate through a terrestrial communication subsystem. Most of the times it is the optical fiber communication. So from one reference station to the master station, or from master station to the reference station, they will use a terrestrial communication subsystem that will include optical fiber communications. So this is one more block diagram given in your provided in your textbook, that is from other reference I have taken. So GPS satellites, users VAS receiver, reference station 1, 2, 3, 4, N, and wide area master station and geo uplink subsystem. Geo uplink subsystem. And there are some subsystems of the VAS. There are some subsystems of the VAS that include functional verification system. It is used for early development test and evaluation. Development test and evaluation, DT and E. Refinement of the contractor site installation procedures, system level testing, and VAS operational testing, and long-term support for the VAS. Long-term support for the VAS. So functional verification system, it is used for early development test and evaluation, development test and evaluation, refinement of the contractor site installation procedures, system level testing, and VAS operational testing, and long-term support for the VAS. This is the functional verification and systems task. And there is one more subsystem, that is correction and verification, C and V. So what it will do? It will process the data from the reference sessions, that is wide area reference sessions, to determine the integrity, differential corrections, satellite orbits, and residual error bounds for each monitored satellite. So using the reference sessions, what are we monitoring? See here, the reference thing, satellite is being monitored. Satellite is being monitored because with a known location reference station, we are doing the navigation technique. So when we employ the navigation technique, if it yields the same results as that of the known latitudes and longitudes, then there is no error. If it yields some other values, then there is some error, and that will give an estimate of the satellite's health status. So that will determine the integrity, differential corrections, satellite orbits, and residual error bounds for each of the monitored satellite. It also determines the ionospheric vertical delays. It also determines the ionospheric vertical delays because the signal is traveling through the ionosphere and also through the troposphere. And the residual error bounds at each of the IGPs, that is at each of the IGPs. Next, C and V's capabilities. What are the capabilities of the C and V in detail? So the first one is the COM. COM stands for control C and V, operations and maintenance. So you can divide a main block into some different parts. There are 11 objectives are there. There are 11 tasks are there that are done by the C and V. They are, the first one is the operations and maintenance. It supports the transfer of files and performs the remotely initiated software configuration checks and accepts the request to start and stop the execution of the C&V application software. So it will support the transfer of the files. It performs the remotely initiated software configuration checks. If there are any configuration checks are there, software configuration checks are there, that will be initiated and it will be performed, which are initiated by a remote session. See, a remote session initiates some configuration check, software configuration check, and it will be performed by the C and V. And it also accepts the request to start and also to stop the execution of the C and V application software. So software may be stopped or started by request, by some request. You can take down the headings one by one in your notebooks. And the second task is control C and V modes. So this is, it will manage the mode transitions in the C and V subsystem while the application software is running. While the application software is running, it will manage the mode transitions in the C and V subsystem. So in which mode the transitions are taking place, in which mode the transitions are taking place, that will be managed by the control C and V modes. The third one is it monitors the C and V, MCV. It reports the line replaceable unit, LRU. LRU stands for line replaceable unit faults and configuration status. So it is like a testing. It's like a testing process. So it will report the line replaceable unit and line replaceable unit faults and the configuration status of each of the unit. In addition to this task, it monitors the software processes and provides the performance data for the local C and V subsystems. But there will be some local C and V subsystems, and for them, it will provide the software processes and enables them to perform their data, processing tasks. Next one is the process input data, PID. So it will select and monitor the data from the wide area reference equipment, wide area reference station, WRS, wide area reference equipment is WRE. Please make a note of the difference. WRS is wide area reference station and WR is wide area reference equipment. So data that passes the PID screening is repackaged for other C and V capabilities. So it is repackaged means stored at some point for other C and V capabilities. The PID performs the clock and L1 GPS precision positioning service, PPS, L-band ranging signal, L2 receiver bias calculations, cycle slip detection, outlier detection, data smoothing, and data monitoring. So this is doing many tasks. The PID performs the clock and L1 GPS PPS service, that is precision positioning service, L-band ranging signal, receiver bias calculations. There may be some bias calculations in the receiver that are also enabled by the PID. Cycle slip detection, if the cycle is deviating or slipping, that also detected. Outlier detection, if there is any outlier is there. Data smoothing, data monitoring. These are the tasks that are done by the PID. In addition, the PID calculates and applies the wind-up correction to the carrier phase. There are two types of phases, carrier phase and frequency. So carrier phase accumulates the data to estimate the pseudo range to the carrier phase bias and computes the ionosphere corrected carrier phase and measured slant delay. So these are the tasks that are done by the PID, process input data. And the fifth one is the satellite orbit determination. So there is always necessity arises to know the location of the satellite. For that we have to know the satellite orbit. So satellite orbit determination is done here. It determines the GPS and geosatellite orbits and also clock offsets and wide area reference equipment receiver clock offsets and a troposphere delay. See, this is also doing many tasks. It determines the GPS as well as the geosatellite orbits. It not only determines the orbit of the GPS satellite, but also the geosatellite, because in a differential GPS, there are two types of satellites, geostationary satellite and non-geostationary, which is a part of the GPS constellation. And also WRE receiver clock offsets and also the troposphere delay. The next one is the ionospheric correction computation. Ionosphere correction computation. It determines the L1 IGP vertical delays, if any, and grid ionosphere vertical error, GIV. So please make a note. Grid ionosphere vertical error, GIV, for all defined IGPs, and L1, L2 interfrequency bias. See, because we are using always two frequencies, L1 and L2 frequencies. So there may be some interfrequency bias for each of the satellite transmitter and each of the WRS receiver, wide area reference station receiver. So wide area reference station may include some number of reference receivers. So each one of that receiver from the transmitter, each satellite transmitter and WRS receiver, this L1, L2 interfrequency bias is provided by the ionosphere correction computation. And next one is the satellite correction processing, SCP. It determines the fast and long-term satellite corrections that include user differential range error, UDRE. So UDRE stands for the user differential range error, UDRE. It determines the WNT, that is wireless VAS network time, and the GEO, WNT and the clock steering commands. So between GEO and WNT always there is a mismatch. So it will determine the offsets that are required and clock steering commands. It provides the clock steering commands. That means if the clock is to be corrected or offset is to be set properly, then that purpose we use the clock steering commands. So that will be provided by this satellite correction processing. Next, independent data verification. So what it will do? It compares the satellite corrections, geo navigation data and ionospheric corrections from two independent computational sources. And if the comparisons are within the limits, one source is selected from which to build the VAS messages. So this is very, very important. Independent data verification. So it is calculating from the two different sources. So satellite correction is done from the navigation data, ionospheric corrections from two independent computational sources, and compares them. If the error is within the limits, then one from them is selected and that will be sent as a VAS message. If the comparisons are not within the limits, then what it will do? Various responses may occur depending on the data being compared, that is all the way from alarms being generated to the CNDV being faulted. If these errors or comparisons are not within the limits, then it will give a alarm that it is a faulty message. Because the receiver should know whether the received data is correct or not. If the corrections are received faulty, then it is made all the corrections, then it is going vain. So for that purpose, IDV is present. Independent data verification unit is present in the CNV. And the ninth one is the message output processing. MOP. It transmits the messages containing independently verified results of C&V calculations to the GUS processing for broadcast. So it transmits the messages containing independently verified results of the C&V calculation. So whatever the C&V calculations are done, that are to be sent to the ultimately to the user. How they are sent? For this purpose, satellite GPS satellite is not used. For that purpose, a GUS, that is geo uplink satellite station is used. So all these calculations will be sent to the GUS processing for the broadcast purpose. For that, we are using a message output processing. Please try to understand each one in detail. If you are unable to understand anything, please ask me again. And 10th one is a C&V playback. So it is like a recording. So it processes the playback data that has been recorded by the other C&V capabilities. So it is just like for storage element or like a memory unit. It will process the playback data that has been recorded by the other C&V capabilities. It is like a story. And finally, integrity data monitoring. It checks both the broadcast and the to be broadcast errors like UDREs and GIVs to ensure that they are properly bounding their errors. So this is like a check. Of course, it is a check for both the broadcast and to be broadcast errors. What type of errors? That are UDREs, that is user differential range errors, and GIVs, that is grid ionosphere vertical errors, to ensure that they are properly bounding their errors. If they are not bounding their errors, then this is again a vain, that is a wastage of energy. In addition to this task, it monitors and validates that the broadcast messages are sent correctly, whether they are reached correctly to the geostationary satellite or not. And it also performs the VAS time alarm validation. So VAS time alarm validation, what the VAS is doing. So always there is a monitoring will be there, and it will be given in the form of an alarm validation. That is VAS time to alarm validation. Next, in the background of the VAS subsystem, there will be WMS background algorithms. These are called as the slow algorithms. So what they do, the WMS background processing consists of algorithms that estimate the slowly varying parameters. So all the errors that we calculate may not be varying faster. There will be some slowly varying parameters. And for them, there will be background, to estimate them, there will be the background algorithm, WMS, wide area master station background algorithms. These will consist of, so what they will consist of? WRS clock error estimation, WRS wide area reference station clock error estimation, grid ionospheric delay computation, broadcast ephemeris computation, satellite orbit determination, satellite ephemeris error computation, and satellite visibility computation. See, understand the word satellite visibility computation, whether the satellite is visible properly or not. That is also done by these algorithms. And next one is independent data verification and validation algorithms in the background. This also will be there. Of course, the 11th point. This includes a set of WRS wide area reference stations and at least one WMS wide area master station, which enable monitoring the integrity status of the GPS and determination of the wide area DGPS correction data. So whether they are within the limits or whether the data is reached correctly or not, all this will be monitored by these algorithms. And each WRS has 3 dual frequency GPS receivers. So remember this point. This may be asked in the objective questions. So each wide area reference station will have 3 receivers, and all the 3 are dual frequency GPS receivers, not a single frequency receivers. Dual frequency GPS receivers to provide what? To provide the parallel sets of measurement data. Just now we understood in the working of the VAS subsystem that a parallel between the 2 stations, between the 2 reference stations, the processing will be done, and if the comparison is within the limits, then only it will be sent. So for that purpose, dual frequency GPS receiver is required for that. The presence of parallel data streams enables the independent data verification and validation to be employed to ensure the integrity of the GPS data and their corrections in the VAS messages broadcast via one or more geostationary satellites. Of course, with IDV and V-Active, the wide area master stations applies the corrections computed from the one stream to the data from the other stream to provide a verification of the corrections prior to the transmission. So before transmission only we have to take a verification. For this purpose, this IDV and V is helping us. So the primary data stream is also used for the validation phase to check the active correction and to monitor their SIS, signal in service performance. So these algorithms are continuously being improved. See, once these algorithms are set, they are not left as they are because we are doing it number of times. When we do number of times, an improvement may be identified and that improvement is to be introduced immediately. So these algorithms are continuously being monitored. Any doubts till now before we proceed further? So we have one more system, that is IGNOS in the VAS. IGNOS, I think it is already 11:25. We will understand this in the next class. IGNOS architecture and other ground-based augmentation systems. Local area augmentation system, LoRaWAN, geo uplink subsystem, and geo orbit determination. In that we have covariance, and finally we have integration of the GPS and INS. Okay, tomorrow and by day after tomorrow I'll complete the unit 4. Any doubts till now? Yes guys, any doubts till now? So there are 11 subunits of the C&V, that is called C&V's capabilities. Control C and V operations and maintenance, operation and maintenance, COM. Control C and V modes, monitor C and V, MCV, process input data, PID, satellite orbit determination, SOD, ionosphere correction computation, ICC, satellite correction processing, SCP, independent data verification, IDV, message output processing, MOP, C and V playback, PLB, integrity data monitoring, IDM. So this may be an important question. So please try to read this topic very thoroughly. If you have any doubts, you can talk to me. Is Salim present? Salim asked a doubt about submarine Vikramaditya, right? So that is a Indian submarine. It is taking the help of the Soviet Russia. Taking the help of the Soviet Russia. Thank you for today. I am winding up the class. Thank you one and all for attending the class.